90.5 WASU FM, Boone, WASUradio.com. Download the app or just say, Alexa, play WASU FM.
Pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Wins the game at the buzzer! Pass is caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. Sends it deep to left. Pagan is there at the wall and it's in the basket. He's got his J back, folks, and the eye of the tiger. And the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
It's time for SportsWrap on 90.5 WASU FM.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Happy Tuesday. And welcome to SportsWrap, sponsored by Eggers Law Firm, a full-service law firm in Boone, right over on King Street for all of your legal needs. But thank you for listening or tuning in tonight, whether you're eating dinner, watching TV, or listening just to us in a quiet, blank room. I'm happy. We're happy. I'm Ben Cole, here with Lucas Warren, Riley Carlson, and Josh Scott. We have a lot to cover today, but first things first, I just want to give a pre-show shout out because I know I'm one of the few hockey people in the sports department. I'm not even a Hurricanes fan, but shout out them Hurricanes, 8-0 to start the season.
What's their slogan? A bunch of jerks? Is that
bunch of jerks?
Yes, sir. Hashtag bunch of jerks. Good stuff.
And I'm giving a shout out to the Canes. You want to know why? Because I still got a rant in here. I still got a rant embedded in here. I'm giving a shout out to the Canes because they're always bottom 3 in the league every single year in regular season attendance. But then when the playoffs come around, all these random Canes fans appear from the midst, and they're like, bunch of jerks, bunch of jerks. Yeah. So I'm giving the shout out for you people that aren't paying attention to the Hurricanes, 8-0. But also shout out that Metropolitan Division. Oh, not anymore, but a couple days ago, everyone in that division, every team had a winning record, which was pretty cool. But that's going to be my hockey bit. I know people don't really have a lot to talk about hockey in this department. But switching gears really quickly, World Series, Game 6 is tonight. Braves have a 3-2 series lead, looking for their first World Series since 1995. Pretty crazy. I wasn't even born. Do you think they pull it off against the Astros, or does it go to Game 7? Do they win? Just give me. Do you think they win?
Do I want them to win?
Or do you want them to? I want the Braves to win.
Because yes, I do want the Braves to win. I at the beginning of the series, I didn't know who was going to win, and then after the first game, watching Altuve go up the bat and all these Astros players that I just can't stand, I was like, yeah, you know what? I gotta go. I gotta root for the Braves. So now that I'm rooting for the Braves, I think they could pull it off, but I don't know if they're gonna win this game. And I know a Game 7 in Houston might be tough, but I don't know. Houston's got the momentum, especially after last game when the Braves hit the grand slam in the first inning, and then they came all the way back. This is gonna be a really, really tight series, but I'm pulling for the Braves.
Yeah, same. And that hurt. You can't blow 4-0 leads, and then they got the lead again and blew it again. So. Can't do that in baseball. And yeah, Houston does have the momentum, and they're at home tonight. They got Luis Garcia on the mound, who has been pitching pretty well, 0-1 in the postseason, but 2.45 ERA in just a third and 2/3 innings pitched. Max Fried is going to be on the mound for the Braves. He has not pitched well in this postseason, so we'll see how that one goes. But I hope the Braves win too. I do not think they win Game 6. Maybe that Game 7 spark, but those are my thoughts. But we're going to jump in to the NBA. NBA has been getting going. I know Lucas is excited. Ooh, he's so excited to get all these
Bing bong.
Bing bong. That's right. How
Knicks fans, can you explain to us what that means? What does Bing bong mean?
I'll take it away.
Yeah, so, Lucas, please explain.
There's this clip that came out after the Knicks double overtime victory of the Boston Celtics on opening night. It's like sideline talk. It's like a guy goes around New York with a camera, but it's just capturing the fans, and I can show y'all after it. It's absolutely, like, it's like a college, but it's an NBA team, and they're screaming. They're like, Knicks are going to the championship. One guy says, F Tom Brady, even though he's not even in the same sport. Like, they just don't even know what to do with themselves. They're just going crazy.
So pretty much how the Dallas Cowboys are.
Yes,
correct?
they're the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA
or the Dallas Cowboy fans.
But it's even... Yeah, but even the Cowboys are usually pretty good, above average. The Knicks
We just haven't had it
are
in so
historic.
long.
Yeah, I mean, this is why New York goes crazy. The Knicks win one game, and it's mayhem. I mean,
feel like you can't root against the Knicks too, because like I feel like everybody just wants the Knicks to do well. They're not like the Cowboys in that.
Yeah,
because everybody hates the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to the Knicks, I feel like the NBA is just better when the Knicks are good.
exactly.
that is valid, and it's interesting because it's not the case for most New York teams. Everybody hates the Yankees, right up there with the Red Sox. People are pretty indifferent on the Giants. They're just a meme in the NFL. But yeah, the Knicks, people actually want to see some success with the Knicks.
Dumpster fire for 2 decades. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how the Jets weren't even worth mentioning. It was like
New York team.
Yeah, I only recognize the
won, though.
OGs. But yeah, beginning of season thoughts. I will say just real quick, there have been some rule changes in the NBA. You know, the foul calling tendencies and things along those lines. I have enjoyed watching the NBA much more this season than previous for some of these rule changes. I think it's just limiting a lot of free throws, from players like Harden or just anyone for that matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my take so far.
Yeah, I got a good bit to say. So first,
Get into
talking
it.
about that thing, James Harden this season is posting career lows in every statistical category. He's averaging 18.6 points, 7.6 rebounds, 8.6 assists, only 39% from the field. He's not playing well. He's even admitted that these rule changes have been tough for him. And if you didn't know this, on his career, he's made more free throws than field goals.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a question whether he's going to be as effective of a player with these rule changes, and it has sped up the game and made it way more watchable. Just to hit some other things, Cole Anthony, UNC, my basketball team in college, averaging 19.4 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 5.6 assists on 40% from 3, 6 attempts a game. So he's balling out to start this year, while Suggs, the number 5 pick, isn't playing as well. And then I'll let you guys say your Hornets things, and I want to come back to the Knicks after. So
I'll talk about the rule change. I think with James Harden and everything, I'm very. What do you have to do to get fouls in the NBA? You have to drive. You have to create contact. That's how you get to the free throw line, right? James Harden, at least the past 3-4 years, has stepped back, kicked his leg out, and gotten 3 free throws. You know what I'm saying? And that's not how the NBA was designed. That's not how you're supposed to get fouled. I mean, you can get fouled that way, but that's just he's just manipulating everything, right? Mm-hmm. And especially with the way he puts his arm through, like when people put their arms out and he puts his arm through, and they call that a foul, and he just throws the ball up. I'm very happy to see this rule change, and I don't really like James Harden, but I think he's a great player, and I think he'll figure it out. It's really early in the season, and so it's going to be interesting to see how his stats fluctuate as the season goes, and I think he'll figure it out by the end of the season.
Yeah,
for sure.
James Harden. I mean, I'm not a huge NBA fan, but I do know that James Harden, I mean, he's always been one of the best players in the NBA for at least the last decade now, so I agree with that, Riley. I think he'll figure it out pretty soon here, if not later. But I think what isn't quite figured out, to me at least, is the Eastern Conference. And looking at the standings right now, you've got Chicago on the top, Miami, New York, y'all's Knicks, the Wizards are the top 4. And then you got the 76ers, Raptors, Hornets, Nets rounding out the rest of the top 8. But that leaves the Hawks, Bucks, Celtics, and Pacers outside of the top 8 right now in the playoffs. I think the Eastern Conference is definitely in kind of a toss-up right now of who's the best team, at least in the early going from my book. But, I mean, the Western Conference seems to be a lot more organized and figured out than the Eastern Conference is. I find that very interesting that Chicago is on top right now.
Yeah,
it's one of the weird things with the NBA. It's because there's so many games, it's hard to really zone in on one part and be okay, what does this show? Because it's
right.
I don't think the Knicks, Bulls, and Wizards are going to be, and then the Heat are going to be the top 4 teams in the East.
Especially not the Wizards.
No,
what is that?
The Nets are going to figure it out. The Bucks are going to figure it out. It's a long season, but yeah, it's just it's weird how these things kind of happen at the beginning of the year. Same thing, the Cavs are actually good this year, and I think they could be competitive, but they're not as good as they've been showing early on.
Yeah, that is very valid. I will say, I would not be surprised if I see the Knicks finish the year in the 4 or 5 spot in the Eastern
They did last
Conference.
year, yeah.
Exactly. And I think they're only improving. So I would not be surprised if the Knicks do finish up there. The Heat are looking very good, but yes, the Nets will figure it out. The Bucks will get it together, and I'm sure they will be in playoff contention. It is very early. But going back to the foul thing real quick, because Riley was talking about it, I think the one that irritates me the most, actually, and a lot of players do this, is the pump fake jump into the
Yes.
because that one really grinds my gears, because fouls are all about contact, and if you are initiating the if a defender jumps straight up to contest a shot and you initiate the contact going into them, that was the one that drove me crazy. It is like, why are you getting rewarded for putting up a bad shot, but then just kind of bailing yourself out by jumping into them?
It's just manipulating the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that bit you said about that. But yeah, let's go Knicks. Real quick, just some headlines. Kevin Love out indefinitely for protocols. I don't know if this will be the end of his time at the Cavs, but he hasn't played more than 59 games since 2016. So that is concerning for my guy Kevin Love. I like Kevin Love.
Is he the last remaining Cavs player from that championship team?
Yep.
He is.
Wow, that's something.
He's been around for a minute.
OG.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't see him going anywhere though, because he has $60 million still on his contract, 2 years. The Cavs have already made it clear they're not going to buy him out, and it really wouldn't make sense for them to, because you're just stretching out that money when you could be done with it next year. Like, there's no point in paying like $8 million of the next 5 years when you just be done next year. So unless he's traded, which I don't know who's trading for that contract, I think he's probably staying in Cleveland.
Yeah, I would assume so, barring anything happening.
They might be competitive here this year, so maybe they'll need him. But
yeah, you never know with the Cavs. Any other big things, Lucas?
yeah, let me just
Get
go
into
my
it.
little Knicks thing. So, Katie, don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? I mean, the Knicks are the eighth in the league in 3-pointers attempted, first in the league in 3-pointers made, second in percentage, and second in points per game. Our offense is so far looking elite. Our defense has taken a step back, adding players like Kemba and Evan Fournier, who aren't as good as Elfrid Payton, even though he's terrible at basketball, and Reggie Bullock, who was a pretty good defender. We're still holding teams to the 5th worst field goal percentage and only 41 points in the paint, but we're 20th in the league in points allowed, so we need to clean that up. But, I mean, this team, I love watching them. We have a ton of offensive potential. We have a ton of shooters, and compared to last year when we were just so reliant on isolations from Randall, it's nice to have so many different options on the offensive end. And then just want to highlight our rising star, RJ Barrett. His season stats are 18 points, around 6 rebounds, and 2 assists a game. But the last 3 games, and he had a slow start to the year, he's averaging 27 points a game on 63% shooting from the 3 on 6 attempts a game. So RJ might be coming into his own as a star, and I'm loving the Knicks.
I think he is, and I was excited about the RJ Barrett pick because, yes, Zion is a very good basketball player, but people were sleeping on RJ just because he was on that same team and he was kind of under the spotlight of Zion. And I thought RJ had a lot of potential, and he is really growing into that mold that is going to make him a good player, in my opinion. And I like that you mentioned the offense because, it felt like last year, if Randall wasn't dropping at least 35 a game, the Knicks didn't have a chance to win. That offense looks a lot better this year. And, once they get that defense kind of figured out, because it did hurt seeing them blow a lead to the Raptors and lose. The Knicks could be 6-1 right now. But still.
Honestly, our 2 losses are the Magic and the Raptors. We should be 8-0.
Yeah, no, it's very valid. I mean, the Knicks have beat the Celtics, the Bulls, who are first right now.
They were their only loss.
Yeah. So shout out them Knicks for a good start.
What I love about the NBA right now is the teams that play like teams are winning.
Yeah.
The teams with the superstars aren't necessarily the ones that are winning. Look at the Nets. They're not playing like a team. They're not moving the ball around. They just pass it to their star players. They ISO them, and that's not working, which I love. When
Other
I was
than the Warriors.
The one
They pass the ball.
That
is so much.
Yeah.
Was Curry always passes the ball at the top of the key and then runs for 15
they
seconds.
run that 5 out on the perimeter.
Yeah,
swing
and
it
they
back
just
and
keep
forth.
swinging it around, which I love. So the teams which I didn't like about the NBA a while back, where it was like, you just ISO'd people and you won games. It wasn't a team sport. There was no strategy involved. It didn't seem like the coaches were really doing. I mean, tell me that Ty Lue got the Cavs to the championship. He did nothing. So it was all about star power. I mean, maybe he did a little bit, but I love that about the NBA right now, and I hope it keeps going because I want it to be competitive like this. Because the Bucks are the 11th seed right now, so I mean they'll get up there, but if they're not competitive, if they don't play hard during these games, then they're not making the playoffs. So
this is probably the most talent loaded the league's ever been in a while. I feel like. I mean, the Eastern Conference for a while has been the top two teams, and then every other team below that is just a nothing team. And now the East legitimately has 8 to 9 playoff teams, and same with the West. So I just feel like it's like you said, it's not as star driven. It's more team, and if you can build a good roster, you feel like you can actually do something.
Yeah, and I think we saw that with the Raptors. Even though they had Kawhi when they won, I feel like that started the transition of the East
all those
becoming.
They did pieces. Yeah.
And Kyle Lowry isn't even a good playoff basketball player, and they somehow won with him on that roster. But yeah, that is a very good point. And yeah, the East is really making that transition into being, if not the better and much more competitive conference as a whole. Yeah. So real quick, looking at the NBA game tonight that I had my eyes on, the Miami Heat are playing in Dallas against the Mavs. Heat are a 2-point favorite. Who do you guys think wins this game?
All right, okay. I got the Heat in this one. The Mavs, 4 wins this season are the Kings, the Rockets, the Spurs, and the Raptors. 4 probably teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. I don't like their coaching hire. I don't think Jason Kidd is a very good basketball coach. He was telling Giannis to shoot mid-range jumpers before he got fired. So I just don't think he really understands the modern game. And I don't know. I just don't like the roster around Luka. It's not very talented. So I got the Heat, who have been killing teams with their physicality and shooting. Yeah, Heat win.
The Heat play like an old school basketball team. Yep. They play very their defense is absolutely suffocating. They're always, you never see that in the NBA, but they're always hustling, they're always switching, they're running around. When I was watching them play the Hornets, I mean, they were insane, and they out rebounded us by an insane amount, but honestly, I could out rebound the Hornets, so that doesn't matter. But the Heat are suffocating on defense, and that's what's winning them games. Their offense maybe not the best, but they always go on a run somewhere between the third and the fourth quarter, and that's what wins them games. The Mavs, again, like I was saying earlier, the NBA's focused on teams that play like teams. The Mavs are centered around Luka Doncic. The Heat really don't have one player that they're centered around right now, the way they're playing. So that's why I got the Heat winning this game.
That's really interesting takes there, fellas. I think I'm going to agree with that too. I think Miami does take this game. You know, you mentioned Riley, Luka Doncic is no joke. I mean, he's the best player the Mavericks have right now, and I think that could give them an advantage. And also the fact they're at home as well, I think that could help. But you mentioned it, Riley. The Heat have the #1 defense in the league right now. They're averaging 97 points for their opponents per game. So I think that's what gets them the win tonight against the Mavericks.
Yeah, I like the Heat in this one for a lot of the same reasons, but also, and it hurts because I love Luka Doncic. I think he's top 3, top 4, honestly, in my opinion, but I won't get into that. Yeah.
I think Russell Westbrook's top 3. No, I'm messing.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. But Porzingis is out for the Mavs, and they really are kind of just built around Luka right now. Even though they're at home, I think, the Heat are just too good on both sides of the ball. I like them in this one too, but you never know. But switching gears, now that we've hit up our NBA segment, let's recap this past week of college football. It was a fun one, in my opinion. First, Boone speaking, App rolled past Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks. A big win for App State to go to 6-2 on the season now. Still in the driver's seat for the Sun Belt Championship. Probably won't host it because Louisiana would have to lose 2 games for it to be in Boone. But good signs for App State. On that note, looking at some of the other games that were played this past week, Ohio State beat Penn State 33-24. And that one was actually much closer than I was expecting, I will say.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay. He's acting like Penn State won. Yeah, but I mean, sorry, I didn't think Penn State would even put up a fight after just having embarrassing performances the past 2 weeks. But Yeah, Ohio State got the win in that one. Still have one loss on the year. The biggest game that I think we had our eyes on was Michigan State and Michigan. Michigan State got the win in that one, sealed it with a late interception, and that now makes Harbaugh 2-13 versus AP top 10 teams and 0-6 on the road. I mean, that is bad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let that
simmer.
Yeah. I mean, that's bad.
You let me down, Michigan. I thought y'all were going to take them, but
And yeah, let's not forget
very disappointing.
we picked these games last week. I believe we all had Michigan State except for Josh. So sorry, Josh. But yeah, with that Harbaugh just stat and letting that marinate, how much longer does Michigan stay with him? I mean, this has been like a consistent theme every year that he cannot win big games. And then to lose, like they're undefeated. It's looking like another promising year. They go to play Michigan State, a rival too, and they do not win. Do you think he's coming down to his last couple seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna. Michigan's one of those teams who, like, year after year wants to be like respected as like this elite football school, and like I feel like they want to be like in the same level as like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, all those schools, but they're just not, and they even find themselves in positions to succeed. I feel like every season there's like that game where they're against Ohio State or some other really good Big Ten team, and they're like, whoever wins this is probably going to win the Big Ten, and then they lose. And and it's like this is like the ultimate Michigan game because they're up 30-14 at half. The Spartans quarterback isn't doing anything, and they're a run team down 14 with a quarter and a half left to go, and they find a way to lose the game. 23-3 run to close that game. I mean, yeah, I would. It just depends on what Michigan wants, but I feel like if you're just okay with being like a pretty good team, probably Harbaugh's your guy. But yeah, you probably have to move on if you're trying to take that next step.
Fire Harbaugh now. Fire him immediately. Look at the numbers. If you want to win, you're not going to win a championship with this dude. You're not going to do anything. I mean, what was it? 2-14 against ranked opponents.
2-13. Yeah.
2-13. That is absolutely ridiculous.
AP top 10.
AP top 10. Okay, still
Though, the biggest game.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you supposed to do anything if you can't win the big games? The only way you get anywhere in college football is by winning the big games. Nobody's watching the small games. But yeah, and Michigan State, the fact that they can't beat Michigan State is a whole nother thing, because obviously you want to beat your rival like that. So yeah, I would fire him as soon as possible, because and get a young coach maybe. I don't know who, because I don't know who's out there on the coaching market. I don't know right now, but I would say you have to look, at least start looking right now. Maybe not fire him immediately, but start looking, and maybe fire him towards the end of the season.
I've got one game circled if I'm the Michigan Wolverines right now, and that's the last game of the season, November 27th, 12 p.m. on Fox. You're hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes. If they do not win that game,
They're not.
Jim Harbaugh is out, in my opinion. They haven't been able to the last couple of years. Maybe this will be a different story considering it's at home, it's in the big house, but if Harbaugh and the Wolverines don't win that game, then he's gone, in my opinion. That's his last chance to prove that he's a good coach that can, help them win against top 10 teams. But if they don't get it done, then I don't see why he stays at Michigan any longer.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think that Ohio State game will be the deciding factor, and I totally agree with Lucas. Ohio State will beat Michigan, yeah, unless Harbaugh
You never know.
does a 180. Unless he does a 180.
It's one of those things for me where it's like, until I see Michigan win a big game, I'm just never gonna trust them to win. Like they've just shown, we can see it right here, 2-13 over and over again. Right.
Yeah.
They just don't show up to these
Ohio
big games.
State has won 8 in a row against Michigan. They've won all.
Is it really
of them
8 in a row?
Yeah, 8 in a row. No, it's. I don't think Harbaugh
Think
has
about that
beat
for a
Michigan.
team that's
Or I don't
ranked
think
year in
Harbaugh's
year
beat
out
Ohio
to be
State.
2-13 against top 10 teams and lose that many times to your division rival. That's insane.
And you said it, Riley. I mean, you have to beat the AP top 10 teams to win a national championship.
Yeah.
So,
But let's not get it twisted. Ohio State almost lost to Penn State. I mean,
And they did lose to Oregon as well.
Yes. So I mean, really, is Ohio State that great of a team, or is Penn State just a good team? Like I said, I don't know, but yeah, no, Ohio State's probably going to win that game.
and this is why I clown the Big Ten every single year. This is why I clown the Big Ten every single year. I don't know if you remember. Even I said weeks ago before I picked them to lose. Before, I said I was not going to be a top 10 team at the end of the year. This team's not going to be a top 10 team at the end of the year. Big Ten's a joke other than Ohio State because they're the only team that scores consistently.
Not Michigan State.
Yeah, this year. We'll see, honestly. But you're right, other than Michigan State. But speaking of some of those other teams, Wisconsin. Who has had a roller coaster of a season. I mean, oh my goodness. Wisconsin has had a roller coaster of a season. Graham Mertz has been so doo-doo in some games.
He's terrible.
And then he didn't even have a good game. No. And that's what's funny. That's what I want to point out here. Iowa, who was third in the country 2 weeks ago? Second in the country 2 weeks ago. Got embarrassed by Wisconsin this past week, who didn't even play well. Iowa only had 156 yards of total offense and turned it over 3 times. But Wisconsin did not play much better.
Nope.
That was a horrendous game to watch. But it's like the Big Ten makes no sense to me. But with that being said, you can rule Iowa out as a contender. Looking to the SEC, another game we picked. Auburn beat Ole Miss. Tigers got a big one there. They really do turn it around second half of the season.
They do. They really and at home. You know, I mean that seems to be that was the factor of why. Did you pick them last week too, Lucas? No, you and I both picked them. That's why I wouldn't pick them last year because they're so good at home late in the season. I don't know what it is. No matter how good or how bad Auburn is, they just have got things figured out in the second half of the season, and now they're considered top 15 threats in the AP poll because of it.
I'm not gonna lie, they shot out of a cannon. I mean, they started that game and immediately it was like 14-3 to start the first quarter. Mm-hmm. They just came out and ready to play at their home field, like you said, Josh. And I didn't see that coming because I picked Ole Miss, but go Auburn, I guess.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't on the radio show last week, so I didn't pick them.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did pick them with my brother too, and I was one of 8 people to pick Auburn. And I think, like you were saying, the second half Auburn usually gets going, but sometimes football is simple, and Auburn was better in the trenches. Defensively, the Tigers had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for a loss, and 5 QB hurries. To the Rebels, 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 2 QB hurries. Auburn ran the ball for 207 yards, 45 carries, 3 touchdowns, 4.5 per carry. Auburn was just the more physical team, and Bo Nix actually is playing like we kind of thought Bo Nix was always going to play. 22 for 30, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 carries for 30 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, I like Auburn, and I think we got to keep an eye out for that Iron Bowl later in the season. I think.
Yep. I was just about to say, if Alabama wasn't in that conference right now, Auburn would be sitting in the catbird seat and making a run for the CFP. But still, they're a great team. Again, 12th in the country. It's been impressive to watch.
Yeah, and they really did turn it around because early on in the season, it looked like Auburn might not even finish this season in like the top 25.
They lost to Georgia State.
Yeah,
and their coach just got fired too, I believe, last season. So go ahead, Riley.
No, that's what I was saying. They almost lost to Georgia State.
Yeah. So they were a shaky team for sure this year, really turning it around. I think it will be a fun Iron Bowl. But real quick, another headline, Wake Forest remains undefeated. They had a pretty easy game, but is anyone starting to believe in the Demon Deacons?
How about them Demon Deacons, man?
Is anyone believing?
I'm a believer. So, I'm a believer. I think this stretch, though, will really prove if they're a top 10 team and good enough to be in the college football playoffs. They have a game at UNC, then they host NC State, then they finish up the year at Clemson and at Boston College. So, I know there's not much of an ACC gauntlet this year, but if there was one, this would be it. Those are like the 3 best teams in the conference. And I think if they finish undefeated, the playoff committee came out and said today, if a Power 5 school is undefeated with a championship, you have to put them in. So if they do win the ACC and are undefeated, they have to be put in, right?
Right?
They have, Ohio State, they have to put them over Ohio State.
Yes,
I mean,
that's what I was saying.
I don't think they're a better team than Ohio State, but I mean, just by what they go by.
I mean, you got to put them in. You got. If they keep playing like this, you got to put them in. And I hope they keep getting ranked like these lower numbers, higher numbers, not like ranked 4th or 5th in the country. I think at that point their ego is going to get shot through the roof. But if they end up at the end of the year an undefeated team, I think they'll get in because they said so. The committee said so. And I mean, but let's not overreact to this game. They won. They beat the Blue Devils, dude.
Oh yeah, I wasn't.
They absolutely killed them like they should have. But yeah, I really, really, really hope that they end up in the playoff because that would be so interesting to watch, especially if they played Alabama or something. You never see that. So
Right.
Are they the top dog in the ACC this year? Yes. No question about it. Is their quarterback, Sam Hartman, legit, even though I believe he's a sophomore? Yes, I agree. I mean, you and I were talking about the numbers that he
I got
has
him
over
right here.
Lucas, what was it, 23 touchdowns
I'll
and
go
2
real
picks?
quick. 2,475 yards, 9th in the country. 22 touchdowns, 9th in the country. 3 interceptions, 19th, and an 88.2 QBR, 3rd in the country.
Yeah. All right. So obviously those are great numbers. Do I think this team is legit when it comes to comparing them to Alabama, to the likes of Ohio State? I'm not willing to get on that train yet. I'm not willing to. 3 of the last 4 games, and primarily on defense, 3 of the last 4 games, Wake Forest has had the opponent that they're playing score 30 or more points. That train stopped last week against Duke. They only scored 7 points. But I think that's what worries me. The offense is really good. Sam Hartman's legit. It's this defense that still needs to get figured out because you can't let a team like Alabama or Ohio State score 30-plus points on you. You're not going to win that football game in my book. So I think that's why I'm not willing to get on this Wake Forest train yet, but I think they do deserve to be ranked at least in the top half of the top 20, in my opinion. I think they deserve to be there.
You know who I would compare them to this year? I would compare them to Oklahoma in years past, where their defense is just not at a championship level, but that offense is insane, and they're expecting to blow out teams, especially the good ones. Like you said earlier, you said that like a million times, Ben. So, yeah, we'll see what happens at the end of the year, though. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Wake Forest, I would even say they're a step below Oklahoma teams of the past. Like, you just got to look at who these teams are recruiting. It's a different world between what Wake Forest, they're drooling at a 4-star, where, I mean, Alabama's getting every 5 and 4-star they can imagine. So I think it's one of those instances where, like, if Wake Forest can just make the playoffs, that's like the championship for them.
Yeah.
Like, yes, like we did it. Or like, I don't have any expectations for them to beat. Maybe if they got into like a 2-3 with Cincinnati, I could see them winning that.
It'll be very interesting to see where the CFP show ranks them in about 30 minutes. It comes on at 30 minutes to 7 p.m. I'm really interested to see where they put Wake Forest because, again, I think where they are right now, 10th, 11th in the country, that seems pretty accurate. But, again, that defense is just you got to figure out to limit the points allowed per game, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I agree with everything said. It's true. I was saying it a couple weeks ago. You cannot leave an undefeated Power 5 team out of the playoff, regardless of everything else. If there's 1-loss teams, if not every team is undefeated, can't leave them out. But I also agree. They are not of the same caliber of Alabama, Ohio State. Because I mean, just look at the talent. Just look at the RPIs. Just look at the strength of schedules. Look at anything, honestly, because that'll tell you. And I love the point you made too, Josh, because that's how I feel about Wake Forest. I don't have any doubts about this offense, but the defense. You can't give up 30 points to Ohio State's and Alabama's and expect to win that game.
56 points against Army.
No, and that was the game that really had me concerned, if anything, because you can't rely on your offense scoring 60 points a game to go undefeated, especially if you do find yourself in the college football playoff scenario. But I'm excited to see what happens with Wake Forest and if it sorts itself out or if they do go undefeated and make it. But I agree. It would just be fun to see them in, and that would be their victory of this season.
It'd be like the ultimate Cinderella story.
Yeah, ultimate Cinderella story. No question about it.
Yeah. So shout out the Demon Deacons. But looking ahead to Week 10, and we talked about this game too. Well, let's get into our pick'em. Lucas wasn't on with us last week, but we picked the Ole Miss Auburn game, the Michigan State Michigan game, and the Ohio State Penn State game. I went 3-0. Josh went 2-1, and Riley went 1-2. Unfortunately, I am at 11-8 this season. I think Riley's somewhere in like the.
I'm 9-5.
9-5. I was about to say. I think you're somewhere in there. And Josh, I have to look, but Josh was like 6-2 or something.
I want to say I've lost 3 total games.
So
like,
you're like at least 8-3. So right now,
coming for you, Mr. Carlson.
Yeah,
watch out.
I'm not even in the lead no more. Yeah, this is.
And we will have some type of surprise for the winner. But looking at our games this week. Just started talking about it. Wake Forest at UNC. UNC is a 2.5-point favorite. I don't know if it's because, butt cheeks. I don't know if it's because they're just, I know you get like 3 points or something just for being the home team, which they are, so they probably get some there. I don't know if it's because they played a decent game against Notre Dame last week. They still lost, but I don't know why they're favored here. I guess just recognition, and I don't know. But who do you guys got?
This is still like UNC's just like held that like little bit of hype they had, or like it was a lot of hype, but they like now it's like a little flame, and there's still people who are like believing in them. I don't know why. Like this team is bad. Like they stink. Like they have a good quarterback in Howell, but the defense was trash last year. It's trash this year. And then they lost all their good skill position players to the draft. So yeah, I mean I'm gonna pick Wake Forest, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a blowout because UNC's not good.
Yeah, if I didn't have emotional ties to this game, I think I would actually pick UNC because I think all of y'all are going to pick Wake Forest. I could be wrong. Maybe one of y'all will pick UNC. But I really want to see Wake Forest thrive, and so I can't go against them. I'll be picking Wake Forest, and they've been playing much better. I mean, So the fact that UNC's favored too, like imagine betting UNC -2.5. That doesn't even make any sense. But I have to go with Wake Forest on this one for sure.
2.5 point favorites against Wake Forest. Are you kidding me right now? Really? Really? I mean, is this even a question? Wake Forest by 50 at this point. I mean, I think that the fact that UNC is even favored by any points over Wake Forest is an absolute joke. And
who decides this?
I don't know, but
Vegas.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Vegas be scary good.
No, it is kind of scary because there's those times when you're like,
yeah, Vegas has me
Vegas
worried.
knows more than me, so like, why is this a 2.5 point? Like,
right?
Like we're gonna get there and it's gonna be like tie game in the fourth.
That's what I'm saying. Vegas is scary good, and they are the ones who decide.
It wouldn't shock me if UNC like surprised them in this game, but I just can't pick them to favor.
I'd be shocked.
No.
I'd be shocked.
I have Wake Forest too. I mean, this UNC team lost to Florida State, who I'm a diehard fan of, and Florida State got smacked by Wake Forest. And I'm not using that logic to pick this game, but Wake Forest is just the better team. And yeah, I don't know why UNC is favored. They really only have Howell. They have not looked impressive in any game. I do not like UNC at all. I like Wake Forest. So the next game, and I picked these games. There was only one really interesting game, which I'm saving for last, but I picked these because of the spread and just the matchup was interesting. But Michigan State at Purdue. Michigan State only favored by 3 points on the road, but this is a Purdue team that smacked Iowa a couple weeks ago. So who do you guys got in this one?
I'm still going Michigan State. I just feel like Kenneth Walker and that defense just travels anywhere. They were down 16 points with a quarter and a half left and still won. And they didn't commit. Like, it's not like they changed the way they played. They just ran the ball and played good defense. And, yeah, I just think out of all those Big Ten teams that are just run the ball and play defense, they're the best version of that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Michigan State.
Got to go Michigan State. Got to roll with them. They got me a win last week. I don't see anything different this week, especially with Purdue being Iowa, who, and again, I guess we're using this logic here, but Iowa just lost to Wisconsin in a terrible fashion. So Iowa's not even looking that good. I'm going to go with Michigan State here in a landslide.
Michigan State's for real, y'all. They're for real. I was put in check last week after picking Michigan to win. They only lost by 3, but still, Michigan State, they've got a really good ball team. That running back who scored 5 touchdowns last week,
Kenneth Walker.
Super ridiculous.
Yeah,
Kenneth Walker is
like
an
that.
absolute beat. He looked like Derrick Henry on the field for all I'm concerned. I think they take down Purdue. I think Purdue's a good football team, though. I mean, again, like you mentioned, Ben, they took down Iowa, but Iowa, as we've alluded to, is not near as good as Michigan State as we thought they would be this year. So I think Michigan State walks into Boilermaker Town and takes down Purdue.
Yep. I like the Spartans as well. Just better all-around team. Kenneth Walker, beast mode. He's so like that. Purdue is just not going to match up with him. So mark it down. Last game, probably the best one of this week. There's not a lot of great college football games in Week 10, but Auburn at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, 4.5 point favorites. Both of these teams have started to find their groove and get chemistry going in this midseason. Texas A&M did not look good at all early in the season, then beat Alabama, and neither did Auburn. And now both of these teams are in the top 15. So who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I got Texas A&M. I think that Alabama win was like when you get your first like really hot girlfriend, like just gives you that confidence. And, like they were like, wow, like we can beat Alabama, like we're good, and like they've just been playing lights out. Like Calzada, their backup QB, looks like John Elway all of a sudden. Like yeah, I'm going to Texas A&M. They're hot right now.
Lucas, you speaking from experience over there?
I am. I mean, we've all had it.
Lucas is pulling. It's freshman. Gotta get these first years on the station off. Like what the heck? All right. Anyways, I gotta go with Texas A&M too. Oh man. I don't I don't have any reasoning other than I don't like Auburn. That's why I picked Ole Miss last week. Not a big Auburn fan right now, and I think Texas A&M will pull away with it. I don't know about -4.5 though. That's kind of a little bit of a big point spread, but I'll go with Texas A&M.
That one got me, Lucas. That's the second time I've laughed hard this week. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is a really tough game, and I'm glad you picked this, Ben, and saved it for last, because like you mentioned, both teams have turned it on late in the season. But I think Texas A&M takes this win as well because of the home field advantage. I think that's going to be the key in this game. Again, Alabama game was a wake-up call. They kind of like how the Coastal Carolina game was for App State. You know, although they hosted Carolina, they went into Alabama. Or no, they hosted Alabama, and they took it to them and won. So I think the Aggies win this game, but not by 4.5. I think it's going to be a lot closer than that.
Yeah, it probably will be a close one, but I like the Aggies in this one too. I mean, they just talk about finding your groove. They beat Alabama, then they blow out Missouri, they blow out South Carolina. Neither of those are good teams, but they really are finding their offense, which was their problem at the beginning of the year. I mean, only put up 10 points against Colorado. But, yeah, I like Texas A&M in this one. Home team, too. They always have good atmosphere, big crowd. They get loud. I like Texas A&M, and I'm still not a big Bo Nix guy. I mean, he's just inconsistent. Yeah. You never know on a given night what you're going to get from him. So I like Texas A&M. Wow, we all picked the same. Teams. Well, that'll make it easy watching this week.
We're all going to have the same record.
Or really disappointing if all these teams lose.
Yeah, that would be insane. No one gets a game right. But then looking at your App State Mountaineers, Boone, they are traveling on the road to play 1-7 Arkansas State. So I'm not going to say anything. There should be nothing to worry about. Hopefully I don't jinx anything.
Hopefully.
But App State should win this one with ease. We're going to take a very short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about NFL this past week before we have to go. But you're listening to SportsWrap, sponsored by Eggers Law Firm on 90.5 WASU FM.
Let's go!
To a place where you can grow.
A place to be heard.
And take a closer look.
A place where you can crush it.
And push yourself.
A place to find your voice.
This place rocks. And rolls.
A place where you can get out.
A place you'll never forget.
So where is this place? Let me show you.
Welcome back to Sports Wrap, everybody. Sponsored by Eggers Law Firm, a full-service law firm in Boone, right over on King Street for all your legal needs. We're in the George G. Beasley Media Complex here on River Street. I'm Ben Cole with Lucas Warren, Riley Carlson, and Josh Scott, repping the North Carolina native J. Cole. Had to throw that in there. But we just finished up talking about college football. We're going to switch gears and get into the NFL. I'm just going to throw some quick headlines out there. Injuries have become very prevalent recently. First, the biggest one, Derrick Henry, expected to miss the rest of the season with a foot injury. He's going to get surgery, I believe, very soon. The Titans picked up Adrian Peterson to be his replacement, I guess. This is like Adrian Peterson's 5th comeback story, I think. But, I mean, he's got to be like 45 years old now. I'm just joking. I don't actually know.
He's like the Brett Favre for running backs.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
Yeah, Brett Favre retired like 4 times. But yeah, that one hurts. Derrick Henry was having an MVP season. I mean, he was blowing every other running back out of the water stat-wise. And I've always been someone, the MVP should not always just go to like a quarterback.
Yeah.
But he was going to be my MVP. But does this rule out the Titans as contenders this season?
Personally, I never consider them contenders.
When I say contenders, I mean, like they were going to be like a playoff.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's exactly what I was saying. I said they were a good playoff team, but I don't think they were contenders, and it's exactly for the reason, like, Derrick Henry was just so important. They were so reliant on Derrick Henry to their offense, not just the running game. Ryan Tannehill's a good quarterback, but that's when he's in a good system, and their play-action attack is how they get that offense rolling.
Yeah.
It's the threat of Derrick Henry on those defenses creeps those safeties up, and then you can hit A.J. Brown or Julio Jones on some deep routes. So, yeah, it's not going to be the same team without Derrick Henry. I don't really see them doing – I think they're in a pretty bad division, and they have a huge lead after beating the Colts Sunday, so they'll probably still make the playoffs, but I don't see them being like a threat to any team.
Okay, yeah. Who's all in their division? Is Colts, Jags,
Houston.
Okay.
And they have a 3.5 game lead against the Colts.
Yeah, so they're still going to win their division. I wouldn't worry about that. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs, unfortunately. I mean, maybe they can have one crazy upset game, but other than that, it just stinks because I really like this Titans team. They're fun to watch, just like to watch them just do that play action like you were saying, and really go for some boom plays. But yeah, they're done, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think Tennessee is going to win their division. The AFC North is not, or it's the AFC South or North, I believe. Yeah, that division is not very good. It's the NFC. It's the NFC East of the NFL. So, I think bringing in Adrian Peterson is going to help, but Adrian Peterson's in the tail end of the 30s, I believe. He's 37, 38.
36.
So wow, he's that young?
He's that young. He's
no, I mean, I'm sorry. I just feel like he's been in the league for 20 years.
Yeah. But that's going to be the difference right there.
Frank Gore.
Yeah. Frank Gore's been in the league for 3 decades at least. But, yeah, Adrian Peterson will help, I think, lift the load a little bit, but he's not as – he's
not Adrian Peterson.
He's not the Adrian Peterson of old. He's gotten older, but and this is a terrible time for the Titans to lose Derrick Henry because they play the Rams this Sunday, and going against that pass rush with a certain a new addition to a team, a notable new addition to that defense coming from the Denver Broncos camp. That's going to hurt, and I think that's a bad time to lose a running back like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, for sure, and I agree with you, Lucas. The Titans, I never considered them as real contenders. But yes, a solid team that was going to make the playoffs, had hopes of making a run. Not anymore. And yeah, it's not the same Adrian Peterson. And even prime Adrian Peterson had his issues like fumbling, being very fumble prone. And yeah, he's just doesn't have the same durability at this stage in his career, so he's not going to have a big impact. He's surely not going to fill the void that is Derrick Henry, the Goliath monster beast. But yeah, it just sucks for the Titans because, they really did rely on him. Another injury, and this one pains me. Jameis Winston out for the season, torn ACL. And this one just hurt because he really was playing good. There was no doubt about it. I'm sorry, even if you don't like Jameis Winston.
Was he, though?
Dude,
I mean,
he's so fun, though. I love Jameis.
Was he?
He wasn't putting up like monumental stats, but he wasn't going out and
4-2.
Yeah, he wasn't going out and throwing 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. I mean, if anything, he would have like 115 yards, a touchdown, 11 for 15. Jameis Winston was a reliable, solid quarterback this season. So I hate this for him. I feel like he was
at least like playing like a quarter. Like he wasn't being like just like where you can't even really play like. like the old Jameis, it's like you can't even game plan because it's like he's gonna do like 3 things that are just like what, like unpredictable.
Yeah.
So it's like hard to like really like build a good team around him. But he really was starting to become like just a seasoned quarterback. But it was really funny. There's a video came out of him like
on the crutches.
Yeah. So he's gonna injure himself more now that he's injured. Like he's gonna like hit people with his crutch or something. Like, that man's so funny. It stinks that we lost LASIK Jameis for the year.
Yeah, they're no longer eating W's down in New Orleans. They're eating L's, unfortunately. I think Jameis Winston was it wasn't like he was a key part of the team, but they don't have like a formidable backup. I don't think Taysom Hill is anything crazy at quarterback, even though he's going to come back soon. And Trevor Siemian did not look good at all against the Bucs. I mean, he
decent, but not like Jameis Winston.
Not in the red zone. In the red zone, he was making some bad reads. But I think like for a full game, there's no way they can keep him and Trevor Siemian and actually play well. But I don't know. For whatever reason, they're playing well right now. I don't like to see it because I thought they're going to be awful. And I don't like the Saints. But, for whatever reason, they're playing well, and they might be a Cinderella story.
The fact that our Carolina Panthers, Riley, might have a chance to beat Atlanta and New Orleans twice this season is amazing.
And still miss the playoffs.
And might still miss the playoffs, honestly. But the fact that, that's true. Now that Winston's out, it's crazy. But speedy recovery to Jameis Winston for all things considered. He's a decent quarterback, and he's a comedian on the sideline too. So
yeah, he is. He's a leader. Yeah, go.
Let me drop a question for the Panthers fans here. How would you feel if a certain dual threat quarterback joined the division again for the Saints?
Oh, if he went to the Saints?
I mean, you were saying they need a quarterback.
Oh no!
How would that feel? What would
they're not pursuing him anymore, from what I've heard.
Are they not? I think it would have to be by the end of today.
If they were, I'd be very unsettled right now.
I'd be. Oh God, I love Cam so much, and every team that he goes to, I want them to win like so bad because I want to see him on top. I want to see him with the Super Bowl trophy in that hand. But with the Saints, bro, like no, not
the team
the
in our
Saints,
division.
Not with Sean Payton, bro. Not with that dude.
Imagine being beat by Cam Newton in the Saints.
Yeah.
No.
That would only be unsettling.
I guguarantee you, he'd bring the dab back or something, and like I don't even know. Like he'd do something and like he'd do the Superman on. He'd do everything just to like on top of us, and it would make me honestly throw up.
Now, if he went to the Atlanta Falcons, I would be extremely upset because I despise the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they're the team in our division that I do not like.
He is an Atlanta native, though.
In New Orleans, it would be well. That's true. That's a good point. But yeah, New Orleans, it would help a little bit. But yeah, Atlanta would really, really stink.
Well, I'm glad I know you guys' feelings on that. Speedy recovery, Jameis. Von Miller was traded to the Rams.
Goodness gracious!
It's not prime Von Miller or anything, but traded to the Rams for second and third round picks. And that shows you how much they cared. And $9 million remaining in his contract, just cash. I'm not saying this addition makes them favorites, but just the way they're playing and Matt Stafford. I mean, I've always been a Matt Stafford stan. He just needed the right scheme and guys around him, and I think this is the year where you're really starting to see it. Not to mention he's just made some insane throws.
Oh yeah.
But are the Rams Super Bowl favorites?
So I was mostly joking when I said that. I just find it funny that the Rams keep trading for these like huge name guys. So it's it's just like I think it's a big trade, but I wouldn't just like immediately thrust them into like the favorite. I'd still have the Bucs coming out of the NFC, but I think the talent on the roster is undeniable, and it's just going to be a question of if he can fit seamlessly with the defense they have now. They have 3 top 10 defensive players on that defense, so if it all clicks, that could be an amazing unit. And then the Matt Stafford stuff, I just want to throw it out there. Cooper Kupp he's on schedule to break Megatron's single season receiving record.
Cooper Kupp is legit.
Was it? So if Cooper Kupp beats Megatron, I'm forgetting, is that Calvin Johnson,
yep.
single season receiving record, was it Johnson or was it Matt Stafford? We don't know. It might have. They were for years saying that it was Megatron and Matt Stafford was just going along with it, but maybe Matt Stafford's
Some
the
food
guy.
for thought there. I like it.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But I don't see the Rams or the Bucks making it to the Super Bowl this year. I actually think the Cowboys are going to make it to the Super Bowl this year.
Oh my goodness.
Y'all just done. Y'all just done. Leave left the set.
We're ending the show.
Cut the mics.
You're done, Riley.
No, Cowboys are making it this year because Dak's coming back, right?
Dak's back.
Yeah,
no,
he's not, so. I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to make it. I don't like the Cowboys, so I'm not saying this out of some emotional place in my heart because I really don't like them. I'm not even rooting for them, but I think they're going to make it.
You got to be kidding me.
No, John.
What? Are you serious? No. Going back to the original question, I thought the Rams were Super Bowl contenders before they picked up Von Miller. Honestly, I think they've got a stud roster. You mentioned Cooper Kupp, Lucas. You know, you got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey on defense. Matt Stafford's been playing out of his mind. I think this further solidifies a defense that was already good. I mean, it's like injecting, Captain America with more super serum, I guess, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think the Rams were already Super Bowl contenders before they added Von Miller to the squad. But Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl contenders? Are you kidding me?
For sure, without a doubt.
NFC Championship contenders, maybe. I don't know about the Super Bowl.
Their defense is legit. Dak Prescott's legit. They're looking good, dude.
You got the Packers. You got the Cardinals. You got the Rams.
You do.
The Cowboys are good, but they also have Mike McCarthy as a coach.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, too. He's not good at game management either.
That man is
I think Cowboys are making it.
Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott in
right
the
now?
NFC Championship.
Don't say.
In the NFC Championship, right now.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't say it.
Aaron Rodgers. I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers.
That's what I thought.
I was about to say, the
That's what I'm
Cowboys, there's no denying that this year the Cowboys are legit on both sides of the ball. But yeah, you look at that NFC.
It's loaded.
It's a loaded division. It's a loaded conference.
Are they beating the Bucks?
I don't know.
Are they beating the Packers?
It's a loaded
Are they
conference,
beating the
though.
Rams? No, it is.
It's a very entertaining conference.
Honestly, it might be one of those years where just like the team that comes in least dinged up is gonna end
That's
up
true.
winning.
That's a
Because
good
there's like
point.
4 teams who are legitimately like good, like complete football teams in that conference.
I mean, you're kind of right. You got the Packers. You got the Cardinals. You got the Panthers.
We know the Panthers are going to the Super Bowl.
Speaking of the Panthers, because we don't have a lot of time, 4-4 on the season. They got the Falcons coming up this next week. Or no, they just beat the Falcons. They have the Pats next week. What Panthers fans? What do they need to do to get that win?
We got to keep running the ball, especially if Sam Darnold's out. Because, dude, I don't know. If Sam Darnold's out of that game, I don't see us winning. If Sam Darnold is in the game, because he's not amazing, he's not some crazy good quarterback. But what he does is he allows us to manage the game well. And this was the first game by Joe Brady that he actually said, "All right, we're going to stick with the run," and we did stick with the run.
Yes.
We ran with like 3 different running backs the whole game. We ran 47 times, which is awesome. And we just kept pounding it down their throat, and they couldn't stop it. And I think our running attack is really good. And all you ask Sam Darnold to do is make a couple passes, a couple throws. You're not asking him to do anything crazy. So if we can keep running the ball and hopefully Sam Darnold comes back, I think we can win the game, hopefully, because our defense is legit. Our defense is nice.
Our defense is legit, Riley. I agree with that. I think, running the ball was the key to us winning, at least on offense. But defensively, we looked really, really good. Again, it further proves that this defense for the Panthers is legit. Jack Thompson coming back was huge. He led the team in 10 tackles. Stephon Gilmore had his first interception as a Panther in his first game. Shows he hasn't missed a beat.
It was game glitching too, right?
It was. 2009 Defensive Player of the Year, or 2019 Defensive Player of the Year. He hadn't missed a beat. But run the ball and distribute the amount of runs that you're giving. Yes. Amir Abdullah got some carries. Chuba Hubbard obviously got most of the carries. And when Christian McCaffrey comes back, that needs to be the type of game plan that you have. Do not give him the ball 25 plus times. Let that distribute continue when C-Mac returns.
Yeah, and that will give Darnold success, because almost like with Tannehill and Henry, when you have such a threat in the backfield, it does open up that play action opportunity if you can develop and establish the run. And I think that will give Darnold a lot more success. But yeah, I think the Sorry, were you gonna say something, Ryan?
Yeah, no. I was going to mention we tied an NFL record. We had 3 drives in the game with 15-plus plays, which is insane. So if we can keep doing that, all you have to do is control the game, and this team is a winnable team. And yeah, like you said, just keep having McCaffrey and Hubbard and Abdullah all share carries, and we're going to be all right.
That's a good point. Clock management was really good also yesterday's game or Sunday's game.
So we are coming to the conclusion of this episode of Sports Wrap, but before we go, like always, gotta get to our shout outs. Basically, the shout out to the grandmas.
She's listening.
No way. So Lucas's grandma.
He took it away. He took all the air out of it. But then I got a bing bong. Knicks are going the Knicks are here. Knicks are here. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. I gotta shout out my family, my grandma, Lucas's hot girlfriend.
Shout out to my family who's listening and members who are listening. Also, to NASCAR Cup Series Championship 4, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. Should be a good one on Sunday, 3:30. Tune in to Phoenix. Kyle Larson is the favorite. He's got 9 wins this season, and it's his first Championship 4 appearance. He should win it all. He's my pick. Shout out to those 4 guys.
I'm going to give a shout out a little more locally. Shout out the App State women's soccer team playing in the Sunbelt Women's Championship this week. Monday got the W over Texas State 2-1. They have their next game tomorrow against Georgia State to hopefully stay in. But that's going to do it for this episode of Sports Wrap. For Ben Cole, Lucas Warren, Riley Carlson, and Josh Scott, saying so long and see you next time.
Peace.